Good afternoon. We'll go ahead and call to order the regular meeting for the City of Murfreesboro Board of Zoning Appeals for April 28, 2010. First item on the agenda is the consideration of minutes for the regular meeting on March 31, 2010. Those minutes are included in the agenda materials that have been mailed out. Are there any revisions to those minutes? If not, those minutes then will stand approved as presented, and we'll move on to new business. Under special use permit requests, we have application Z10023 by Ms. Debbie Wall for B&B Fireworks, LLC, requesting a special use permit in order to operate a temporary outdoor vending establishment, a seasonal fireworks retailer, in a commercial highway zone, and this is for property located at the southeast corner of South Church Street and Southeast Broad Street. Mr. Blomley, if you'd review that one for us, please.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers, and good afternoon, Chairman Rogers and members of our Board of Zoning Appeals. As you mentioned, the first item that we have on the agenda today is for a seasonal fireworks retailer located at the southeast corner of South Church Street and Southeast Broad Street. And I'll show you the aerial photograph here. This site should look familiar because it's been used for a number of years. As a matter of fact, for the last 13 years, from 1997 through 2009, and is the location of formerly of a gas station that was torn down about 8 or 9 years ago. You can see kind of the remnants of the footprint of the gas station closer towards the northern end of the site. B&B Fireworks will be operating this site in an identical fashion to the way they have done in the last several years. So I won't go over all of the details. They're only asking for the July 4th selling season and not the New Year's selling season. One thing that I will mention is that in the write-up that they submitted, they mentioned that they were going to be selling from June 27th through July 5th. The selling season was actually shortened by a day from June 28th to July 5th in the modifications that were made to the city code. So I just wanted to get it on the record that the actual selling season is the 28th through the 5th and not the 27th through the 5th. With that being said, as I mentioned, everything is identical to last year's application. You have the site plan in your agenda packages. Several years ago, the intent was to go in this location, but after staff discovered that there was an electric easement running through that property, the tent was actually located further to the south on the property so that it would be outside of that electric easement. If the board approves this application, staff recommends the following conditions. Certification should be submitted that the tent is flame resistant or treated to be flame resistant. A fire extinguisher should be kept on site at all times. The city's fireworks ordinance should be posted on site. No fireworks are to be set off on site. All signage is to comply with the city's sign ordinance. The site must pass an electrical safety inspection prior to opening for business. An electrical permit must be purchased from the Building and Codes Department in order to obtain this inspection. The tent must meet all minimum building setback requirements for the CH zoning district, and a tent permit must be obtained for the tent. All grass and weeds growing up through the existing gravel must be removed and or killed, as no grass surfaces are allowed for the placement of the tent and for vehicular travel or parking. In addition, the applicant may need to add gravel and or smooth out the existing gravel surface, subject to the approval of the planning staff. And that's kind of my generic comment for all the lots that are grandfathered in, that are graveled. The first sentence doesn't necessarily apply so much to this particular site. I can't think of anywhere on site where there's grass or weeds growing up through the gravel. However, in my visit to the site after the application was made, the travel surface does need some work. It needs to be some additional gravel needs to be added, and it needs to be smoothed out, as there are a number of sizable potholes on site that need to be addressed prior to the applicant's operation this summer. Number 9, the sodded area should be barricaded in order to prohibit vehicular travel over it. And I'll refer you to the site plan. This is a condition that we've made for the last several years. This area here was required to be sodded after the gas station was torn down, and we do not want any vehicles traveling over that or parking on it. So for the last several years, we've required that they barricade that, and they'll typically put up some orange tape around that so no vehicles travel over it. And 10, the northernmost ramp onto South Church Street, which is right along here, must be barricaded during the selling season. As you know, it's a very busy intersection, and we want to discourage discourage is not a strong enough word. We want to discontinue the use of that ramp during the selling season, so there's no traffic at the very south end of that intersection where turning left would be next to impossible out of the site onto South Church Street. There is an existing ramp onto Southeast Broad Street on the north end of the site, and there's also another ramp onto South Church Street further south on the site. So there'll still be plenty of ways in and out of the site with closing that northernmost ramp. Ms. Wall is in attendance if you have any questions for her, and I'm here available to answer any questions that you may have also.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blomley. Any questions for Mr. Blomley? All right, thank you. Ms. Wall, anything you'd like to add to the application?
Just that I'm aware that we do need gravel, and we will get that taken care of. If anybody has any extra they want to drop off, I'd appreciate it. But that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then at this time, we'll go ahead and conduct a public hearing. Anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application, if you would please come forward to the podium, state your name, your address, and any comments that you might have. And seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for any further discussions or motion.
Chairman Rogers, if there's no discussion, I move that we grant this special use permit.
I'll second.
That's subject to staff comments.
Yes.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, Ms. Wall, that application has been granted. Thank you. Appreciate you coming in today. Move now to application Z10024 by Ms. Chrissy Russell, requesting a special use permit in order to operate a temporary outdoor vending establishment, food sales, in a commercial highway zone for property located at 2047 Old Fort Parkway. Mr. Blomley.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers. This is the fifth time, I believe, that Ms. Russell has made application to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit for a temporary vending establishment. She will be setting up in the town center parking lot. The town center is the shopping center that holds Target and Lowe's and Toys R Us and Electronics Express. She will be on the lot that is owned by the not by Target or by Lowe's, but by the actual shopping center owners themselves. It's on a separate lot from the Target. She'll be setting up in the same location as she has for the past several years in the back row of parking spaces across from Electronics Express near the Chick-fil-A, and I'll show you the aerial photo here. Our aerial photograph in 2009 was actually taken a little bit later than normal. I think it was taken in May of 2009. I think you can actually see Ms. Russell's trailer there. So I don't know if she was waving that day, but I think that's her trailer back right there. And that's the location. She sets up far enough away from this intersection here so that there's no conflict with traffic coming in off of the service road. This is the service road that is in front of Target. And she does have a drive-through operation. We discussed this several years ago, and Mr. Balachandra, our traffic engineer, went on site and viewed how her operation was, how her drive-through was operating, and was satisfied with the arrangements that she has made for the drive-through. One thing that I would mention is that she has secured permission from Electronics Express for the use of their restrooms for her employees and customers during the length of her approval for her vending establishment. And I'm not sure the time frame on this, but I did read in the paper yesterday that Electronics Express will be relocating to Stones River Mall, and I'm not sure exactly when they will be vacating the spot there at the town center. So I would just ask that if Electronics Express does vacate that spot prior to Ms. Russell's approval, or her approval period ending, that she does secure permission from one of the other businesses in the shopping center to use their restrooms during her hours of operation. One thing I will mention is that this is one of the sites that was grandfathered in for a maximum of 6 months per year back from when we modified our temporary vending regulations in our zoning ordinance. And but Ms. Russell, as she has been doing this for several years, she has found the months that she has optimal business, and so she is just limiting it to 4 months this year. She'll be opening on May 1st and closing at the end of August. So she's just asking for a 4-month approval. With that being said, if the board approves this application, staff recommends the following conditions. The proposed trailer must pass an electrical safety inspection prior to beginning operation, and an electrical permit must be purchased from the Building and Codes Department in order to obtain this inspection. And the time period of operation will be from May 1st, 2010 until August 31st, 2010. And Ms. Russell is in the audience if you have any questions for her, and I'll be available as well.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blomley. Any questions for Mr. Blomley? All right, if not, Ms. Russell, anything you'd like to add to the application? She says no. And so then we'll move on to the public hearing. At this time, we'll open a public hearing. Anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application, if you would please come forward. And seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for any further discussions or motion. I will point out that it not only does the trailer appear in our aerial photos, I think I also saw it in the lead-in to the meeting itself that the Channel 3 runs. It's on the lead-in, isn't it? It's a green trailer, right? Did you see it? Yeah. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the special use permit and taking into consideration the staff recommendations and conditions.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, Ms. Russell, that application has been granted again. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to signed variance request, application S10025 by Mr. Jeff Connor of Little John Engineering Associates for Fifth Third Bank, requesting a variance from Section 25 1/4, 24A22 of the City of Murfreesboro signed ordinance, which prohibits a sign placed in or over a public utility or drainage easement for property located at 3405 Memorial Boulevard. Ms. Kerr, if you could review that one for us, please.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers, members of the board. The applicant is requesting permission to erect one internally illuminated ground sign with 98 square foot of display area and 21 feet overall height. The sign will be located within a 20-foot sanitary sewer easement. The agreement for a sign in a City of Murfreesboro easement has been signed by the Assistant Director of the Water and Sewer Department as well as the Director of the Building and Codes Department. The applicant will comply with all other setbacks and regulations. If the board does approve this request, staff recommends the following condition. Due to the sensitivity of the placement of the sign, a certification of sign placement form must be completed by a State of Tennessee registered engineer or surveyor and submitted to the Building and Codes Department prior to permitting. And Mr. Connor, I believe, is in the audience to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kerr. Any questions for Ms. Kerr? Mr. Connor, anything you'd like to add to the application? All right. And at this time, we'll go ahead and conduct a public hearing. Anyone present wishing to speak for or against this application, if we would please come forward. And seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and open the floor for any further discussions or motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the sign variance subject to staff comments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, Mr. Connor, that application has been granted as well. Appreciate y'all coming in today. All right, moving on to staff reports and other business.
Just one thing, you notice I put a handout on your desks. We have a continuing education opportunity next Tuesday. It's our monthly legal teleconference, and it will be particularly pertinent to what we do here at the Board of Zoning Appeals. It will be pertaining to variances, special use permits, and site plan approvals. So you all are welcome to attend, as always, and that will be on Tuesday, the 4th, which will be next Tuesday, from 12 to 1 in the Legal Department's library. And that's all I have.
All right, very good.
I already completed my 4 hours, but that would be a good one to come to. I don't think they would want to feed me again, do you think?
Ms. Mosby, we view education as invaluable, so you are not limited to 4 hours. That's the minimum, but you are more than welcome to come to as many of these as you would like to.
Thank you.
Can I just pick up the lunch, though? And
That was a really good lunch.
all right, any other business? We are adjourned.